The legendary Lee. Yeah. All right. So we're live. We're live. So Lee, hello and welcome to our weekly podcast. As our guest, Daniel and I are co-hosting this show or this podcast. As we both come from the project management world. First of all, it's really, really nice to see you, Lee. It's not the first time I watch you, but you were in my country 2 weeks ago. You were in Tunisia 2 weeks ago for a couple of days. I knew you were coming. People told me about it. I wanted to come to Tunis to meet you. I somehow mixed the dates. Plus, I have some family constraints. I couldn't make it, but maybe we will meet another day in another place. So I'm sure people really enjoyed having you in Tunisia, and of course I know you're so busy. So we will just kick it off. So we are in this fourth episode together. My colleague Daniel and I, we're hosting this project mastership series. Today we're having the fourth episode with you. We would like to talk about how to create successful project team because now it's a hot topic. Many people are, asking, what does it take, to take the teams to the next level, how to be successful with the teams. Since now leadership styles are changing, many things are evolving. And of course, many people are dying to hear from you the great history of the world famous certification PMP. So a lot of people would like to hear it started, how it was incepted, where did the idea come from, what did PMI do between 69 and 84 during those 15 years, what happened, when was the first PMBOK launched, etc. So we will take turns, Daniel and I, on sharing questions with you. So I'll let you start by introducing, introducing yourself, and then the entire history, which everyone probably wants to hear, Lee.
All right, I got it all. You just let me know. Ask questions so I know where you want to focus because I think I can hit it all if we got a little time.
Okay, we have a lot of time. Yeah.
Well,
So please, if you may introduce yourself.
Let's start back in '69 when the organization was formed. Back then, I didn't join PMI until 1978. But back then, I was working in project management. I was certainly aware of the PMI being formed. But in those days, it was in its infancy. It was like a good old boys club is what it amounted to. And even the five guys, I mean, I met with the five guys down in Atlanta in Jay Gordon Davis's front kitchen to talk about it and watched them put it together. To be frank with you, I didn't have much confidence at that stage because everyone else already had a profession, accountants and engineers. They all had that already. And I think our guys, not me as much, but our guys were sick of being looked at as sort of glorified clerks. Basically the boss would come up to you and say, "Oh, and by the way, when you're done doing engineering, could you take care of this project management stuff?" Well, I mean, it didn't take long to figure out the project management stuff took all day. And so they realized, look, we need to make this recognized as a profession. So, I mean, we really owe so much to all of those five. Unfortunately, they've all passed, but they talk about a legacy. This is something that we now have 1.7 million PMPs, and that number is going up very rapidly. And I don't think that'll slow down. So they really left us with something to get our hands around. And I think that the people that have carried that message forward have stayed pretty true to the purpose of PMI.
Right.
That's amazing. Like that, we have had a lot of good guests on, but you're one of the people I've been literally watching you from the outside my entire career in different I mean, obviously, when I started a little bit over 20 years ago, we didn't have the internet as much as we do, and it wasn't easily accessible. But I've been like a groupie fan of yours, especially. I'm very much into history. how things come together. And you just described it exactly how I envisioned PMI being formed, or like how it moved along into just like many other stories like that. And that's what makes it truly great, right? When you just have people that are coming together for the sake of the profession and just say, hey, it's our turn. Let's build something special. Like everyone else got something. Why don't we have something? And really, I think it sounds like, and I can see my own 20 plus years experience, that was the start of our profession becoming what it is today. And of course, we have a lot of great things coming on, AI and all these different things. But at the end of the day, it all started there. So personally, I can't thank you enough for being on the show. You're one of the guests I really want to talk to. But like Ahmed was saying, like that. It's just such an amazing experience. And you look at the numbers today, like where they are, and like you said, they're growing. Everyone I know is either taking the test, just took the test, is preparing for the test, is teaching the exam. And it's just amazing that we do have a foundation or a place that we could point to that says, yes, like this is our baseline. If you're a project manager, this is where you are. You at least have the baseline knowledge and understanding of how to manage a project. Of course, there's a lot of other variables, but you're confident enough by passing this exam and studying the knowledge areas and everything that's involved in there.
Yeah, and I think basically what's happened with the PMP is it's basically created a cottage industry. There are so many businesses tied to the PMP that it really has incorporated the thought to where people, like you say, everybody's getting ready for the PMP. I mean, if you're in our profession and you don't have it, then you better get busy and get it. And I think that's going to continue to be that way. I think we still could do a little more on the applied side of the business. I mean, with the PMP, it's a theoretical test. And then you got to say, yeah, and I know how to do it too. Well, some of them don't know how to do it yet, but they want to get that test under their belt. They want to start moving towards that career. So I think the creation of the CAPM was an extremely good idea. Wish it had been mine, but it wasn't. And it has allowed, we have over 75,000 CAPMs right now. So that means there's 75,000 people in the pipeline to take their PMP in 2 or 3 years. And not to mention the ones that are taking it now every day. I handed a little handheld note to people when they pass. And I started out doing 3 or 4 a week, maybe. Now I'm doing 40 and 50 a week. Oh, crazy. And that's just North America. I don't have the numbers from India and some places like that. So the popularity of it is really off the charts.
Yeah, and even I see it. And it seems like everyone on LinkedIn when I'm on it's nothing but people getting their PMP. I see you on 99% of them congratulating the people, for passing the exam.
That's true.
Yeah. He doesn't miss it. Lee doesn't miss a post. No, he doesn't miss a post.
Doesn't seem like it. No.
I have a crazy question, Lee. When the PMP was launched in 1984, did you guys expect it to be so popular, or it will become so popular? First of all, did you expect that to happen? Did you expect that it would reach millions of people, almost 2 million people PMP certified? I probably will get that number, 2 million, probably by the end of next year or the year after. And second, what made the people so internationally recognized to the point that some people now call it the bachelor of the business and project management world? Like if you don't have PMP, or the other way around, if you have PMP, it's like you have a bachelor's degree, a strong bachelor's degree. They even compare it to that because it's so fundamental now to have a PMP. So did you expect it to be that famous? Yes or no? What made it famous? And do you agree that it's really a fundamental certification?
Well, I think I can answer that first part of that. Did we think it was going to be what it's become? The answer is clearly no. I think what you have to understand is our primary purpose, or the 5 founders at least, was to get it recognized as a profession. Well, one of the criteria for a recognized profession is some certification process. So the certification came as kind of a byproduct of wanting to be known as a professional association. So that in the beginning they had no clue. I mean, we spent almost 3 years getting this thing together because it's a very complex issue, and there's a lot of things hanging on it. There's legal implications. There's all kinds of nuances that you had to be careful with. But what happened was in 1995, we had a very unusual thing happen. First of all, we started out by demanding that if you were going to sit for the exam, you had to be a PMI member. Okay, so one of the little tricks was we'll get new members in as well. So it had multiple objectives. So it turns out that was a mistake because at the time people weren't joining associations, and they certainly weren't joining them just to get the right to take a test. And so in 1995, we changed that, and we said, no, you can be anything you want to be. If you want to become certified as a project management person, you're welcome to take the exam. So we opened the floodgates, and people started to come in. We had, I know for a fact, in 95, the quantity count of PMPs was 6,018. And the reason I know that's my number, because we couldn't take the test for 10 years. They precluded all the people that were 5 of us as well, and we could not take the exam for 10 years. So when I finally got to take it in 95, I took a bunch of AT&T people down in Florida. My number's 6,018. So that's not very many for 10 years. I mean, we were in business for 10 years. We got 6,000. I mean, we have that many in a month, I think, now. But what happened that really turned it around was IBM, AT&T, Motorola, all the major corporations in America embraced the PMP as their internal certifying mechanism. So rather than developing their own, they said, well, look, let's use PMI. It's proven to be a good test. And so that from that point on, the numbers went vertical. Because not only, well, let's be honest with each other, but we have to understand that part of the reason people took this certification is to show that they were qualified to be a project manager. Another bunch of people took it because Bob has it. And because management said, well, hell, if Bob has it, I think we all should have it. And so you get a lot of people that were sitting for the exam that really they didn't want to necessarily, but their job sort of demanded it. So we've got all kinds of, and that's still going on quite a bit, although I think it's backed off a little bit. But I think we still see, especially in the international market, they're about 5 years behind us at least in certifications. But now when you travel over there, I travel a lot, and when I look at their want ads, it'll always say PMP required or PMP desired. So basically, it's showing everywhere that, look, if you ain't a PMP, you're probably not going to get the job. And I think that I do think that's unfortunate. I voice that opinion all the time. Some people don't like it because I've seen some really good project managers that don't have PMP. So it's not so that if you don't have it, you're no good. It's if you don't have it, you haven't invested the time to earn it. But some of our very best project managers in the world that I've run across, some of them don't even know what the PMP is.
Yeah.
But they learned the hard way. They've come up managing projects. And that's what we're missing. Some of these, I don't know if any of you guys do boot camps, but I'm an anti-boot camp guy because I think the boot camps are turning out people that really aren't qualified project managers. That's my fault. I decided 3 years was enough experience. That was a big mistake. Should be more experience than 3 years to show that you really know what you're doing. Otherwise, you're relying a lot on theory, and the boot camps are cranking them out at an incredibly high rate. One of the foreign guys that does it showed his last group. There were 45 of them in a prep class. 45, and there's all kinds of ATPs that are giving these boot camps. So that's why I'm seeing 40 and 50 a day. Is there's so many people going after it that those numbers are just going to go. I predicted 2 million by the end of the decade.
I could definitely see that. I'm glad that you brought that up, because that's actually one of the things that I wanted to ask you about. Obviously, I'm very like technical. I'm always in the weeds of things, and I always wondered how and when you guys decided on like the bare minimum requirements, like 3 or 5 years, depending on if you have the high school diploma or you have a college degree. How did you guys come to that, and like what was, did everyone just kind of agree that should be a baseline, or like what were some of the conversations like when you guys were just starting out trying to put this together and determine how do we actually make it? It's nice that we got the certification, but how do we actually market this to the people, and then inherently the businesses, like some of them that you mentioned, some early adopters?
I think our intent was to not make it so difficult that we wouldn't have an audience. So we debated 3 to 5 years. We debated that a lot. I think I swayed their opinion. In retrospect, I wish I hadn't. But I also was involved in the point count. Back in those days, there were 3 categories: education, experience, and community service, service to the profession. And you had to total 95 points. Easy. I mean, if you got a bachelor's degree and been working for 3 years, you're going to get 95 points. So we wanted to make it so it wasn't so difficult that people would just say, "No, I don't want to do that." Now they're starting to say that just because the test has grown in difficulty.
Oh yeah.
Remember back in '84, we didn't have a PMBOK. Well, our first PMBOK was in '96. So we just took volunteer questions from people that we respected as project managers and said, well, if they get these right, then that means they've got the kind of background we want. So the test was, and remember, it was 8 body of knowledge areas. You guys probably aren't old enough to remember that. It was eight body of knowledge areas, 40 questions in each body of knowledge area. So 320 question test. You had all day. They gave you all day, 4 in the morning, 4 in the afternoon. But it was a much longer test. And in a way, more difficult because the questions weren't as specific and as well done as the questions we have now. So out of that first group of 55, only 39 passed. So there were only 39 out of 55 that was able to pass that first test. And the other thing that held us back was that we decided early on to only offer the exam during the symposium, during the annual symposium.
Oh, really?
So 55 people, well, it's going to be another year before you get any more to sit for it till the next PMI summit. It wasn't called summit, then just called symposium. And so you couldn't get very many people. And so it wasn't long before people started recognizing we need to offer this more times. And so we started to do satellite locations, wrap it around a regional meeting, wrap it around a big program that they were doing. So we were able to get more people going. But at that time, remember, we don't have the internet capability we have now. We don't. I mean, it was when you took the test. Like I remember for mine, I took the test, handed it in, and then you wait 6 weeks to find out if you passed or not. We had a review committee that scored all the tests. And you didn't find out in 6 weeks. I remember the 6 week came and I called and said, where's my results? They said, they're on the way. I said, well, okay, don't spoil it, but I hope I pass. It's a matter of timing now. I mean, you sit there and push that finish button, you either have a heart attack or you celebrate. It's instant when you do it nowadays, which makes it a lot more pliable. And the other thing that's been in our behalf, which I'm not a big fan of, is the testing at home. The pandemic drove us to this. The pandemic kept people from going out, and I think PMI made a good decision. Let's give them an opportunity, and so they do that. And there's been problems with that. There's been people get disqualified for looking this way or looking that way. Very, very difficult proctors. But people who want to take it at home can still do that. I advise against it just because that's a personal opinion. But what you got to do with things like this is, first of all, you got to make it attractive. It's got to be something they want or need. Yeah. And then second of all, you got to make it available. If you got a great certification process, but you got to go through hell to get it, a lot of people will just pass on it. But I do a lot of Europe travel, and Europe, it's starting to take off in Europe. in Athens. I did a construction conference in Athens, and
Actually,
tell you what, they're on it. Yeah, they're on it. Even these Tunisia guys, so I'm telling you, there are a bunch of them are going to be getting their PMP as well.
That's awesome.
we're growing in Tunisia at a rate of, I think, 50% per year. Of course, we're still on very small numbers because PMP started becoming popular just in the last couple of years. And even worldwide, many countries now are pursuing the PMP certification. Some of the companies have put as mandatory requirement in the CVs. And I encourage everyone watching us, please leave your comments, hit the like button so it can reach more people. Of course, we will be taking, Daniel and I will be taking some comments. Yes, people suggest topics for some of the next sessions, even though we really do have planned guests for the next sessions, but still we might, we might have a couple of sessions or one session where we would take your topics. Now, I have a question, Lee. The PMP was launched in 84. The first PMBOK came in 96. Okay, and then the PMBOK 2 in 2001, PMBOK 3 2005, PMBOK 4 2009, PMBOK 5 2013, PMBOK 6 2017, and PMBOK 7 2021. Now, let me ask you about PMBOK 1. Who prepared it? Based on what standards or what approaches? Who suggested the content? And then how did the PMBOK evolve from 96 onwards?
Yeah, that's a good question. I know a couple of the guys personally who were involved in that early stage. A guy named Max Weidman, which was from Canada, from the west coast of Canada. Bill Duncan, who left PMI under some questionable circumstances, was the primary author. And he's a good guy. He's big in IPMA now. I mean, it's in his blood. So those two I know for sure. But it was a composite of people with a lot of experience that could look at, well, what do you really need to know to be considered to be a professional? And so they worked on it from that, but they worked on white papers. The first test was built around volunteers taking white papers that have been written by experts and converging that into an exam. The actual PMBOK didn't really start to come together formally until about maybe 1990, when we started to realize if we got all these people taking this exam and we don't even have a body of knowledge prepared for them, it's not going to look good. So they realized that if you're going to be a profession, you got to have a body of knowledge. And so they started to work on it. And again, like everything with PMI, it's all volunteer. Everything that was done with the PMBOK was done by volunteers, then analyzed, reviewed by people like you and me to pick out the good stuff and leave the bad stuff. And so years and years went into creating those. And then what they decided was, once they issued that in 96, it was only 119 pages. That's the first PMBOK, 119 pages. PMBOK 6, which is the last one I like to think about, was 800 pages. Now, I always used to ask, well, what the hell happened between then and what changed in the body of knowledge? Well, what changes, the more volunteers you get involved, the more minutia starts to show up in the PMBOK. And then people started to teach directly from the PMBOK. So the PMBOK became your teaching material, and you just taught the PMBOK. Well, the PMBOK doesn't have everything you need to be a professional. It's got the body of knowledge, but there's a whole lot of stuff inside there. And so people started doing, well, then they decided, we've got to get away from that. So the 7th version, we normally take 4 years in between revisions, always done by volunteers, and through 6. And then when we said 7, we changed everything from process-based to principle-based. And that changed a lot. And so now the new 7 took a little over 5 years because of the change. That's the only time we've taken more than 4 years. Now the 8 that's coming out, I'm hearing that it's gone back a little bit more towards 6. It's a little bit more like 6 than it was like 7. So I don't know how that's going to look. I'm anxious to see it. It's supposed to be released in January, I think, to the public. A lot of people have seen it. They involve a lot of people reviewing those draft PMBOK. So, but it's now in its final stages. The issue is that you've got to be very careful not to violate ANSI standards, because that's one of our big claims to fame is our whole process is ANSI approved, and the management of PMI has worked very hard to get that designation. So they're very careful to make sure they don't violate any of the ANSI requirements.
No, thank you so much, Lee. Like, I'm a nabber. I love hearing again the history of stuff like this, and thank you for explaining that. You've answered probably 1,000 questions that I have, or at least connected the dots. And I try to examine the process, the people, and the book, and the timing, and the years, and kind of try to like figure out what happened in between to get to this great place that we are today. So, no, thank you for that. So, I think I probably covered everything that we can about the history, and certainly time to move into how to build successful project teams. Ahmed, hopefully you're good with that. So with that, I know, again, when we were talking, me and you were chatting back and forth, discussing some topics for the show, you had suggested one of these, and I know just from your LinkedIn and all the different things that you do and all the different people you help team building and managing project team is one that's, just something you really love to do. At least it seems like from the outside without having too many conversations before. So with that being said, I know this is a question that I get a lot. Especially for like mentees or coaching clients or people that are just kind of get into the field or maybe even move into maybe like a mid or senior level role. They want to know what's the basics of building a project team. Obviously you need people, obviously you need a project manager, you need some document, there's a few things that you would assume, but what's the real foundational, like what are the fundamentals, putting all the stuff, all the tools and all that stuff, what are the fundamentals of putting together like a really great cohesive project team, one that, really high performing and really just gets the job done?
Yeah, I have a reputation, a good one too, of some things in PMI, and one of the things that people have started to recognize is that I am a high performance team developer. I have PMI has written up an article on a project I did in 1988 that was targeted at 3 years. We finished it in 18 months.
Oh, wow.
And my team of 205 people averaged 14 hours a day, 7 days a week for 18 months. Never asked them to work overtime, never put any pressure on them to do. Basically, what I work is first of all, I leave my ego at the door.
Exactly.
I'm a big believer in servant leadership. I think that's really the key. So I leave my ego at the door. I make sure they understand what the objective we want to accomplish as a team is. Then we start to look at individual contributions, relationships between peers and between other groups, not in the project specifically. And what I try to do is develop sort of a camaraderie within the team that they want to do what needs to be done. And the way I usually taught my teams was, listen, we're going to have a discussion. You and I are going to agree on what it is you're going to do and when we'd like to have it done. And then after that's done, I don't care if I see you again. I don't care if you ever come in again. But when that day comes, you better be bringing me the final product or have told me what's going on.
Yeah.
So with that, people go, wow, do you dare take that chance? Well, yeah. If you don't deliver, that'll be the end of that story. And these people in Indianapolis, Indiana, maybe I got lucky. Maybe I got lucky and got just the right people. But it was unbelievable what happened in that project. And the project was released a year and a half early. Gained back. It was going to close the door in 3 years. Gained back market share from Johnson & Johnson, who had come up with a better product, took back our market share plus some, and 3 years after, this was a $1 billion company, 3 years after, Roche Labs acquired this company for $11 billion.
Wow.
And to this very day, in fact, I just saw a report last week, it's their highest profit margin product of all products that Roche makes. It's the
I
Gillette
love to hear
razor
stories
blade
like
series.
that.
You get diabetic, it's for diabetic home use. And once you get people pricking their finger and getting blood on a strip, and they're doing that 5 times a day, it doesn't take too long to add up to a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so that became my standard. I think what happened is I did get lucky. I hit a home run the first time up. You know, you don't always hit home runs. I understand
No,
that.
you definitely always don't get great projects.
Yeah, you really. I mean, we've all learned that. I mean, you have people on your team that don't give a rip. They got their own way. They're going to do it, and you got to pull all that together so that it's all going in the same direction. That's the hard part. And
Yeah.
anybody, I always say I don't like to work, and I don't. But basically, when I say that, I mean physical work. Mental work is what leaders do. Mental work is
Yeah.
what project managers who have teams do. They're doing something with their mind all the time. And if you focus that way, you have a higher probability of success. But I did have the option of handpicking my people. So I got to interview. I had 205. I interviewed probably 600 or 700 people before I picked the people I thought were going to be the right fit. Because chemistry is a big issue.
Yes.
With teams, chemistry is huge. And I mean, you can go back to the Tuckman model. It's really a good model. It's a little too complicated, but you know, forming, storming, norming, performing, that whole routine. Those are steps you have to go through.
Yes, yes. So many people miss those steps.
Yeah, you don't spend weeks in any one. So I think that more people, unfortunately, I think just this year, PMI, which I think is basically Pierre, has started to recognize the people are really our product. People are what we're all about, not websites, not smart charts. We're about people. And he's starting to realize that and changing the soft skills to power skills. Brilliant move.
Yeah,
brilliant move. So I think we're in the we're going in the right direction. We're always going to have some that just pass the test. You know, you're not going to get around that. But try to look at what's your criteria for a team member, and if they've got it, then if you do your job, you'll have a good team.
I love that.
Correctly. I personally, when I started, by the way, I started my career at IBM. That was my first employer, IBM. I started at IBM in 2007, and I spent there 6 years working in project management. And we had to go through the PMBOK. So I started with PMBOK 3, and I noticed that the PMBOK 3 was focusing on certain tools related to the team, like the RACI matrix, like few of the resource assignment matrix, couple of leadership styles, and power types. Okay, then PMBOK 4 came in with a little bit more emphasis on communication, stakeholder engagement, etc. PMBOK 5 and then PMBOK 6 again a little more emphasize on the team, some of the tools we use, to help better understand the team, but it was still the kind of command and control or be in control leadership style from the project manager. And then the PMBOK 7 came, and that changed the whole view, on people, whether it's stakeholders or if it's team, and in relation to the team. Then suddenly, PMI started incorporating these new kind of leadership styles. So we were talking more about servant leadership style, empowering team members, removing roadblocks or impediments, supporting the team to succeed, focusing a lot on conflict resolution techniques, different communication techniques, etc., to the point that now many people are even wondering, it's no more that traditional project manager who is guiding the team, telling them what to do. Now we're more focusing on a team who knows what to do by themselves, and the project manager is facilitating that, helping them execute the plan going forward. Okay, and even in the PMBOK 8, one of the principles, the new principles that will come with the PMBOK 8 is accountable leadership, which is totally something I was expecting it since 4 years ago. Accountable leadership, it could be in both directions. Accountable leadership from the project manager, but at the same time from the peers, from the colleagues on the project, the team members. Now, Lee, with your huge and great experience in project management, what do you think has made all of these evolvements or changes in the way we deal with the team, we lead the team, and even in the role and the accountability of the team members, it has changed, it has evolved. What made us live that and go through that?
Yeah, well, that's another interesting story. If you look at PMBOK 1, there were about 2 pages on the chapter that was leadership, and about 1.5 pages on communication. Procurement came later. I mean, they didn't even really have that at all. And so as it started to grow, what we began to do is, first of all, the first probably 3 editions, it was all tools and techniques. Let's get up to speed on what we have available to us to help us do a better job. I think that was a good focus. Once you got to that point, though, the next question people started asking was, but what about the people? What about who makes these tools and techniques work? And they started to realize, we've become zealots over tools and techniques when it's all about the people. Because back in the early days, we didn't have all these skills. We still got projects done. We still did good jobs on projects because we did what people do. And so I think that you'll see, because of volunteers like me and probably like you guys would have been at the time, you start to say, wait, there's more here than tools and techniques. There's more that we need to know. And so we started to see that change. In PMBOK 6, there's quite some good stuff in PMBOK 6 in terms of leadership and communications. And it was terrible in the beginning. I used to joke about it. Why even have a page? You don't say anything. And so it's gone to be very important. And now we start to see the worm is turning, so to speak. And now we talk a lot more about people than we do about tools and techniques. And that has a downside too. One of the downsides that I'm apparently aware of is the failure to use scheduling systems the way we need to do. If you ask somebody about a critical path, most of them won't even know what you're talking about. And then if you say critical path, they say, well, that's the most important one. Well, duh. And so when I ask people to say, do you use the integrated logic network schedules? Oh, yeah. I said, can I see it? They bring me a Microsoft bar chart. Well, that's time. That's managing time. I want to know what's critical. Now, here's the thing. With the AI coming on like it is, that's going to empower risk managers like they've never been empowered. Yeah. Because they're going to be able to do projections and what-if analysis before the risk occurs, not after. And so I'm trying to push the idea that we really need these schedules so that we can start to manipulate where the critical path really is. Because as you look at it, the biggest problem we have as organizations is we accept too much work with too few people to do it and still expect everybody to be on time. And so I tell people, generally speaking, when you get a new project, you're already behind schedule because the people you need are assigned to another project. And we've just assumed they'll be available. That's not a safe assumption anymore. So we're trying to get people to think beyond the tool and technique. Think about what the implications are. That's why I'm very disappointed in the number of risk management certifications we have. Very few. It's like 5th or 6th on the list. We got PMPs, we got CAPMs, we got Agile, we got but risk, which is to me number 2. Number 2 is risk for me. It's clear down on 5th or 6th number of certifications. So every time I get one of those, I don't do that for everybody, but every time I get a risk one, man, I send them out, way to go. When finally we're getting some people that know what they're talking about. Because risk management is going to be the thing that turns a lot of very difficult projects around. Being able to anticipate these risks before they occur.
I couldn't agree more. And I love that you're focused on like the people side of project management, right? Because at the end of the day, we're not just delivering projects, people are delivering projects, right? And we're usually delivering them for other people, one way, shape, or form, whether it be a customer or a client, an end user of the product or device or software or whatever the case may be. But yeah, I'm also glad that we started to work some of that stuff in, and also the power skills. Like I really enjoyed that change, because I felt like for a while, as a profession, maybe not just PMI, but just like as a profession, we lost a little bit of that, especially with AI here and so many of the great tools that we have that elevate risk management and change management, all of the more difficult or the components of our job that really require like real good detail and attention and expertise sometimes. It was nice to see that. But as far as the risk management, I could not agree more. AI risk management is one of the more difficult things, certainly depending on the environment, the customer, whatever you're working on. Some not so difficult, but many of the projects I worked on, I would have loved to have AI manage some of the risk modeling and things like that. But what if analysis, like doing that by hand and working with teams and cross-functional teams that a lot of times they don't directly report to you, and trying to get all that information together, that's a time-consuming process that 9 times out of 10. That risk happened already. Like we want to try to avoid risk, right? Or at least, reduce it as much as we possibly can as project manager. And that's the part I'm the most excited about AI taking. I've used some really cool tools over the last few days. I've been trying to sample these things for something that I'm working on, and they're going to change the landscape. But again, then the people side of that is, why AI enables us to do some of that stuff and do our job a little bit better and quicker, more efficient, more effective. It gives us a little bit more opportunity to work on some of those people skills that you just mentioned. Talk to more sponsors, talk to your team more, really build that cohesive team that you just described earlier that enabled you for that early success. But one of the just thinking back to some of the questions I've had with project managers in a few days, one of the ones I'm very high. My thing lately is emotional intelligence. And I've been like going all over the world, at least in my mind or on the internet, trying to blast this message very much in line with what you just talked about. And some of the questions probably most of the questions I get are when you are having a team or managing a team, lots of times, especially if they're cross-functional teams or not teams that line up right under your hierarchy, how do you build trust? And how do you do it quickly, right? Like it's not, it's easy to build trust over time, but what are some of the more fundamental things you could be, to build trust? As an example, when you say something, do it, right? Like that's simple enough. And that certainly builds consistency, which then of course enables influencing without authority. So what are some of the things that you do, especially with some of the great successes that you had, to really leverage building trust within the team and of course, externally a little bit, and then really kind of move into really becoming a true master, or at least as good as you possibly can to be a great influencer without authority?
Yeah, that's one of the things that I'm very proud of the way I do it. It's unfortunately it's an investment of time, and there's always that pressure to get going. So I'll give you the record example. When I got that team formed and picked who I thought they were going to be, I spent about an hour to an hour and a half, some 2 hours, with each individually, tell them about who I am and what my expectations are, ask them the same questions, and then tell them you can trust me. If it's the old walk the walk, talk the talk, whatever that saying is, basically I want them to know, look, you tell me something you feel strong about, you can trust me to follow through, to see if it's good or if it's not. But then you've got to trust my opinion on what you said. So it's, to me, I use the acronym TRUST, tremendous results using simple techniques. Trust. If you give me a team of 200 and we all trust one another, hell, there's nothing we can't accomplish.
Yeah.
But you've got to be willing to invest time. You don't just say, no, trust me. No, well, yeah, sure, we all say that.
Exactly.
So I think you're right that we need to do that. We've added a little twist though in changing from output to outcome, because now we're saying project managers have to go beyond the delivery date
and
and interface with the customer. So you can deliver, if you deliver something to the customer not like, that's a failed project. I don't care if it's on time or not.
Exactly.
It's a failed project.
Exactly.
So we
Well,
extend
look at us,
that.
delivering a $50 billion project. If at the end of the day, the end user, or customer, or whoever works in their organization or their client isn't using the product or service, that's just no bueno, in my opinion. But no, and again, I was hoping that you said that, Lee, because in my own personal experience, I've been managing projects for about 20, 21 years at this point. It took me about a good 5 to 7 years to figure out what you just said. I tried different versions. I started to really try to practice that trust building, doing the things you said, having one-on-ones out of the gate. 9 times out of 10, I would try to do it the minute I either got assigned a project team or was able to develop my own. I would hit the ground running, emails, meetings, whatever I need to do to build that. I like to have like a team meeting, but I like to do what you do, like a one-on-one. And they weren't for 5-10 minutes. I sat down and really gone beyond my name. I wanted to know about their person. I really try to bring it down to a level where I'm just a human being talking to another human being, putting aside any of the hierarchical nonsense, putting aside the project even for a second, then of course bringing it back around to the project, what I expect, how they work. Like you said, what are the things you believe strongly about? Maybe they're an IT project, IT manager, and they do things a certain way. I might be new to the company or new working with them, and I have my way of working. Let's try to buy that first meeting, walk out of the room on some level of agreement on how we're going to work together, so that moving forward, that risk, that the risk log that we were going to talk about a few minutes ago, is either reduced or that we have a path forward a lot more efficiently moving forward, because now I have a pretty good relationship with this person. Maybe I've never worked with them before. And now they understand that I'm here for them. They're here for me. And again, doing some of the basics. If you say you're going to send an email on Friday at 3:00, make sure you do that. If not, do exactly what you just said before, Lee. Let them know as soon as I know, hey, I can't meet this mark. I'm going to need another day. That's okay, blah, blah, blah. And 99% of the time, people are okay with that. I made the commitment. I wasn't able to follow through, and I made a decision early enough to let them know I'm not going to be able to meet that. Those little simple things like that go such a long way with building trust, and inevitably enables, at least within your own little project bubble, the project team, enables you to influence them without authority, where you become a camaraderie, just like you said. And I've had project teams where I literally just had to look at someone a certain way, and they already knew what I was going to say, or they knew what I was thinking, or they knew what the next step was based on our history and how I work and how they work. And having a team like that, oh man, what a feeling that is. And there was a lot of projects I left that I was sad because I knew I wouldn't work with them again, because they were just, I love showing up for work. And how many people could say that, right? But also, I've also found some environments where the company, like you said, rush, get it done. I wasn't enabled to. I just could not do that unless I left work every night and went to grab drinks or grab a meal with these people. I was not able to build those relationships because we were always under the gun to get stuff done, which is very unfortunate. Businesses don't truly understand how you just described that. That's what enables future project success. And that's what delivers true value to your project. Those extra 5 minutes, an extra conversation. I promise you, that time is well spent.
Oh, I agree. One fine point, and I think I almost got a question. I break some of the rules in that I become friends with my teammates.
I do too. Lots of times. Yeah.
Social, find a commonality that we can.
Yes, that's it. Yep.
And it helps. It breaks down some of that resistance, because remember, some of these people have worked with absolute jerks.
Yes. That's the other thing you got to keep in mind.
No finesse whatsoever. So they're not going to trust you right away.
Yeah.
But if you start to build that personal relationship, that helps. All the literature says, don't ever do anything personal. That's crap. I think that the fact of the matter is, people.
Hard for me not to do it. And again, just having that little personal touch when push comes to shove or a deadline needs to be met. Like you said, you had to work double hours. You don't need to ask. People just volunteer without you even saying anything, just because you built that personal relationship with those folks.
No, that's true.
By the way, Lee, when people are taking the PMP exam right now, there are 42% of the questions in the PMP exam are about people, and nearly half of that, like half of those 42% questions about people are about the team. So in the PMP exam, you can expect about 60 questions, easily 60 questions about the team members, the roles, the responsibilities, the accountability, etc. Now, there are some answers which you can eliminate automatically in the PMP exam. Okay, so for example, asking the team to work overtime, you never pick such an answer. Okay, firing a team member, replacing a team member, not assigning work to a team member, not showing a team member how to do their work, punishing a team member. That's something also PMI wouldn't accept at all. So there are many, we call them the elimination techniques in the PMP exam related to the team. There are many answers which you should not pick at all because they are wrong answers. On the other side, there are many good answers, like, for example, coaching a team member, providing support, providing mentoring, showing a team member how to do their work, supporting them to succeed so can they do the work, giving team members more responsibilities, empowering them, serving them, removing the roadblocks, etc. Now, this is the current version of the PMP exam in relation to the key do's and don'ts related to the team. Now, can these evolve even more? Is there even a next step after that? What would be the next level? Like, maybe can we find ourselves at a certain point sharing the entire responsibilities with the team on the project? Like, what do you expect next in relation to the relationship between the project manager and the team?
Well, I think you're going to see the quantity of people-oriented questions increase. I hope you're going to see agile questions decrease. We've gone to a 75 to 80% agile test. Well, what about all those poor predictive people that may never be agile? What the hell? How are they going to? So we need to balance that a little bit more. But it's typical. Typical anybody really go to the extreme and then fall back. But I think that you're going to see a lot more questions that deal with the interactions of people. And one of the things that I think they've done to make it reasonable is almost every question. Now, I got to tell you, I've never seen the exam. Nobody gets to see it. Those are the family jewels. Nobody sees that test. But I hear from people that it's about 75% agile. It's every question has two answers that are obviously wrong. So now you're down to two, and you got to pick the best one. I'm not sure that's a fair way to do it, but that's the way we see it. Is that there's two answers, and both of them could be correct. Now you've got to decide with your own judgment which one's correct. So we've had a couple people that took us on in terms of, hey, wait a minute, that question is just as right as that one, or that answer is just as right as that one, and try to fight for that point. But the way they've structured it, it's that way. So I think what you're going to see is a bigger, although it's all the ATPs have already done it, is a bigger emphasis on educating the people side. So that when you get those questions, you're going to go, oh, yeah, I know how to deal with that. Because right now, a lot of people that take the exam have not really been involved in the people side enough to answer some of those real complex questions. Because some of them are pretty complex. In human relations, there's some pretty complex answers you can come up with.
Yeah. So you expect that there will be more focus on the human interaction, okay, in the upcoming version of the PMP exam, because humans are playing bigger and bigger role. However, now few people are asking in the chat. I saw a couple of questions from people in the chat. Is AI a threat to the team? Yes or no? Would AI replace the team?
Is it what now?
Is AI a threat to the team? Which means, can we expect that AI at certain point will replace a big percentage of the team members?
Well, I was tracking with you till you said a big percentage. I don't think it's going to be a big percentage. What I tell people, and then I'll explain, is that AI will never take your job, but someone who embraces AI and knows how to use it will take your job. Not AI. Don't blame AI. That's what I tell them on the education side. Don't be blaming AI. If you didn't take the PMI courses in AI and how to use it and what it's about, don't blame AI. That's your responsibility. So I don't think it will. I think what in my view, it's actually going to empower project managers to be much more effective. Because
yeah.
now
Yeah.
I have accessibility to data that I wouldn't have for 3, 4, 5 weeks sometimes. Now
Yep.
I've got it. Now I can project. I can do things. I was leery in the beginning, but the more I've looked into it, boy, it's a gold mine. I mean, if you don't abuse it and start to use it for silly things like some people do, if you just really focus on project management, AI is powerful stuff.
Yeah, and I kind of get more. And again, I talk to so many project managers all the time. And as soon as you introduce AI into the conversation in whatever context it is, immediately they go to, I'm losing my job. What do I do now? What do I do next? Like, dude,
Yep.
slow it down. Slow it down. AI is a particular set of tools that can enable the things that you just said, Lee. It's going to flip that on its head. It's an opportunity for us to be even more impactful and leverage those tools to deliver our projects. And again, if it does take even a certain smaller percentage of your job, again, use that to the people side of that. Now you have the best of both worlds. In another year or so, I see this. I see you saying it, and so many other people. In another year or two, if you're not in a place where you're pretty good at the people side, but you're not at least having a great understanding of AI, you don't have to work on projects yet. Not everyone's going to get the chance to do that yet, but have a good understanding, prompt stuff, all the courses through PMI. Pick up a book, talk to someone, take a class, watch it. You have to understand. You have to be able to speak the language, just like the stuff with PMI and the PMBOK back in the day. It gives us a common knowledge, a common language that we're able to speak with each other. And I swear, I feel like 1 or 2 out of every 4 or 5 people I talk to feels like they're going to lose a job. I literally explain it the same way you do, and just use it as an opportunity as opposed to a challenge. But with that being said, as far as like, okay, I'm trying to think of some questions that a lot of people have asked me over the last year, especially when it comes to teams and stuff like that. How do you deal with, I know this is such a common, simple question that probably everyone asks all the time, or asks you, or I see on the internet, I see a lot of blogs and stuff. If you're, doing all the right things, you have a great project team and, things are going well, and you have like 1 or 2 people, they could even be outside your project team. They might be inside your project team. They could be one or the other. And all of a sudden they throw, a wrench into your mix for whatever reason. It could be a personal problem. It could be, they just don't like you. It could be, they're on a part of a cross-functional team that they have to deliver 35 other projects for 34 other project managers. And they become a challenge, not in a way where they're purposely trying to damage you or the project or, the reputation or cause the delivery of the project to not be on time. How do you deal just more generally, not in a million different specific variations, but how do you deal more generally if you have like trouble with the team? It could even be, just a bad team member. How would you ordinarily, what are some tips and strategies that you could come up with, again, to try to more quickly, so again, you can get back to your project and keep it moving again, to just deal with maybe a difficult project stakeholder, maybe just someone that's maybe going through something. I've seen different variations of this. How do you deal with someone that, again, really, all those situations that they just throw a wrench into your project, if you want to boil it down to something?
Well, that's a real tough one, because when we were talking about being involved in their personal life, sometimes you can't avoid that. I mean, you have to face up to that. But what I tell people, let's assume we built trust in the beginning, okay? Then what I tell them is, this isn't a personality contest. If you don't like me, that's okay, but you're expected to perform your job up to the expectations of the company. You don't have to like me to do that, but I'll treat you fairly. You can trust me. I'll treat you fairly. And that generally, unless you've got one that's perhaps a drinking problem or a home domestic problem, that you do want to stay away from. I don't like to get involved in those. There's too much, in the old days you could do that, but now, God, you get sued for if you look funny at somebody. So I do try to stay out of the personal, if there's a problem personal. But otherwise, if you've got, here's my situation. If you've got a problem employee, whoever that might be, they have to understand there's consequences for performance. In other words, they can't fail to perform and expect to be treated the same way that people that perform are. There has to be an understanding. Each one of us is held accountable to the work we've accepted. And until that's done, we have to recognize there's, quote, consequence for non-performance. Some managers don't like to do that. They don't like to deliver bad news. I mean, in a way, that's bad news. But I think people, in retrospect, really actually appreciate it because you're giving them some guidance on where they might be able to perform better. So I don't.
I could not agree more with what you just said, Lee. I found, again, I was nervous to do it. I never liked getting feedback. Now I enjoy it. Give me the good, bad, the ugly, the indifferent. As long as you follow that up, again, being respectful, but also giving me some guidance on how to change that direction or move forward, or maybe adjust something, or maybe I need to take a class, or maybe, I'm just not getting something, like, say those things to me in a loving and caring way, but also put me on the guide. And I found in my own project teams, when I do that to people, it certainly softens it, right? Always kind of give them a little compliment up front first, just to kind of soften it a little bit. But if you built those great relationships that you just talked about, you put the due diligence in, you've done the legwork, you've done the one-on-ones, you've done the team meetings, you've done maybe some external events with the project team, even bringing in some remote teams to kind of do some of that stuff. It makes all the difference when it comes time for those conversations. They already see you differently. They're not looking at you as like the guy or girl that wants to get me. They already know, like, yes, they work in essence for you, not directly, but in essence for you, at least on this project or this deliverable. But at the end of the day, they're going to be more receptive of that. And to kind of to flip that on its head, I wanted to ask, kind of a follow-up question to that about remote teams, right? We all know that that's a lot different, right? Especially if you're working in different countries, different regions. Maybe you've never worked with people from those environments before. COVID exacerbated that by a bazillion percent. Is there any tips, tricks, things you do different, or would you just ordinarily just apply those same rules that you ordinarily would with someone in the same room with you, or in the same building as you? Or obviously, there's the internet, everything's live. You have to do a lot of things, just like how we're doing here. But are there any things you do differently to help manage teams better using the environment of being remote, or pretty much just leverage those same things? Just you just have to see each other over the internet now.
I picked up on something. We just had our 50th anniversary in Ohio, and our keynote speaker was the first female Thunderbird pilot for the U.S. Air Force. Frail-looking thing, just a pretty lady, not just very attractive. And she gave a presentation and showed the jets flying 18 inches, one upside down. I mean, really some harrowing stuff. And she said the one thing that she learned as she trained to become one of the regulars was that it was okay to ask for help. She was having one movement, she couldn't get it, and it was really causing a problem. And finally, her lead guy went to her and he said, "It's okay to ask for help. If you need some help, we'll help you." And that made all the difference to her in the world. Now she wasn't under the pressure. He said, "Hey, we'll get this figured out." So I learned, don't be afraid to ask for help. See, a lot of people think that's a sign of weakness when you ask for help. That's not a sign of intelligence. Now, she didn't ask for help the first time, but after 2 or 3 times of it not working, she realized I need some help. And I think
I love that. You have to take your ego out of the way if you want to be a good project manager. Just simple. I need help sometimes.
Yep.
I have one very funny question, Lee. Now, the answer to this question is not straightforward, but I still want to hear it from you, and probably the guys online want to hear it from you, our audience. Please, again, put your questions. Lee doesn't have much time because he's flying in a while. So we will take 1 or 2 questions from the audience. Maybe Daniel can pick 1 or 2 questions from the audience. Daniel, Lee, here's my question. According to you, the success of the project, how much in percentage it falls on the shoulder of the project manager and falls on the shoulders of the team? Just if you could answer this question.
Well, I think I have to talk about it in terms of accountability. The project manager is totally accountable. The
Yeah.
project workers are responsible for the work that they've been asked to do. The project manager is responsible for making sure that that's getting done appropriately. So accountability comes back to me. Responsibility stays with the people assigned the work.
Right. So you wouldn't be able to give a percentage um, like about the success of the project. Who's actually, it's not about accountability or responsibility. Is it 50-50? Like, yeah, the project manager would assume 50% of the success, the team 50%. Is it more on the team side because they do the work? Is it more on the project manager side because he or she leads the team?
Here's what you have to. Nobody thinks this way. Here's what you have to think about. In my view, I've since a young boy, I have not liked work. Never did. Never caught on with me. It was never a thing. And so I've sort of translated that to my career to say I really don't want to work. I want to get work done through other people, but I don't personally want to work. So if I divide that up, it's 100% accountability, 100% responsibility. Because each person who, remember, we help define the work content. Each person we assign work to, that's their responsibility. And if they don't do it, I can't say it's because Bob didn't do it. I own that. That's my accountability. So it's to me, it's pretty straightforward. I don't think everybody sees it that way, but I think the fact that you're not doing work somehow throws people off. Well, you're not much of a project manager. You're not working. Really, I got 45 guys that are all getting stuff done in miracle time. Tell me I'm not
Exactly.
working.
Yeah.
So yeah, but you see what I'm saying? Accountability, 100% project manager, responsibility, 100% for workers.
Right.
I love no, and thank you. I actually had a similar question I wanted to ask him, but you pretty much covered it, Ahmed. So I know we're gonna get into the Q&A part of there's a few good questions in there. If there's like 3 or 4 things that you could tell, like, just coming into project management or new people are considering the field or maybe moving in from a different field, what are like 3 or 4 things, again, putting aside the certifications, all that stuff, those are obvious. Like, what are 3 or 4 things that you would tell a project manager to do or that they should know, just from your 5 decades of tremendous project management experience that will really help set them in the right mindset moving forward? Again, certifications, that's obvious. We should all get that stuff, but just really for themselves, from where you were then to where you are today, the changes you've seen over the last 5 decades. Like, again, if you're just meeting someone in an elevator, what are 3, 4, 5 things you tell them real quick, just to kind of set them on the right path for now and into the future?
Yeah, I think I can try that. I got ahead in my career faster than some people because of a couple of these things. First of all, learn the vocabulary of your trade. Understand the words. You're gonna have to be dealing with people. You need to understand it. Okay. Second of all, find the smartest person in the room and suck their brain. Take everything you can take from them. This is the way I reduced my time from 10 years to 5 years, by sucking people's brains. Why do I have to experience it all if I can observe it and understand it? I've got it. So I do that. Then third of all is learn how to get along with people. I picked this up in high school because the only way I got out of high school is get along with the teachers. And so learn how to get along with people, because at the end of the day, people are the ones that are going to be your success or not. You're not going to ever say, yeah, well, that Microsoft project, that's the one. No, it's whoever was running it. It was the person who used the tool and technique. And the fourth one is, don't be afraid to say you don't know. Yeah. I've seen too many people act like they don't know, so they'll look smart, and then they end up failing, and it looks pretty bad. So those would be the four that would come to my mind right away.
Right. Daniel,
Those
do you
are
have some
great-
really?
Those are great questions. Sorry. Great,
I think-
great feedback to enable your career.
Yeah, I think Daniel, you can pick one or two questions from the
Yeah.
audience.
I actually have an interesting one. I've actually thought this myself before. It's going back to PMI and some of the history. Was there ever like a time when PMI was just kind of getting its footing? I don't mean like day one. I mean like even in the first 10, 15 years when it was just really PMBOK, TESS, all that other good stuff, trying to really establish itself as an entity, let alone the core of project management. Was there ever a time where it either decided this isn't a good path forward, we should fold, or maybe selling, or maybe someone trying to purchase it, and then bringing it kind of today, at least from your knowledge, have you known about, maybe in the last 10, 15 years, anyone, any like partnerships, meaning like the companies would be, kind of like go together like a Gartner or PMI? I know that's kind of a little off tilter, and I know that PMI acquired Cognito Lydia and a few other companies, but was there any talk, especially in the beginning, of kind of hanging it up or maybe merging with someone or selling it when things were kind of not really set in stone yet, and you guys were really just kind of figuring stuff out in the beginning?
No, and the thing that we had going for us was these five people. And I'll admit that I did not really know Eggman or the lady very well, but Jeanette and Snyder and Davis, they're bulldogs. They weren't going to let go of it. They were committed to it. And they did what I know Gordon Davis became a real kind of mentor to me. And he was so committed. There was nothing was going to stop it. And in those early days, there was nothing to acquire. I mean, there really wasn't anything of any interest to any company. And so we didn't have to put up with that battle. And that's been talked about in later years, but we never could find anyone that shared the same values that we did. Remembering that we weren't about the money, we weren't about the revenue from the PMP, we were about the profession. So there was really there wasn't much temptation. In fact, we reversed it. Of course, now we've started to acquire.
Yeah.
To add to our capabilities. But we've made some mistakes. That thing with Canada and the Agile people, that was a pretty big mistake. But I mean, you're going to make mistakes. But I think we're more on the acquiring side now, because I think people, and maybe it's Pierre, maybe it's the board, I'm not sure, but somebody recognizes potential here. And what they've acquired so far is perfectly fitted with PMI. It's a natural fit. Having the PMO thing with poor America killing himself trying to get volunteer money. Now he's got the backing of PMI. I mean, they're just doing some really wise things. So I think you're going to see a lot of strengthening in the marketplace. I think you're going to see Pierre focus so much more on the people side. There's good years ahead. I wish I'd be 120 because I think it's going to be some good stuff out there.
That must be amazing to kind of see where it is today, and you literally there day one, door opening, and to kind of see where it is today. Like, oh man, what an amazing view into the world that we all love.
I have a question, Lee. One of the guys is asking here about how to build a strong multinational project team. People coming from different backgrounds, different cultural backgrounds. That's a hot topic, to be honest, in such a globalized world right now.
Well, I'm just focused on one point because I think all the other team aspects kind of apply. But I think the one thing we have to do is study the culture of the other people. I think Americans especially make the mistake of, hey, I'm big dog in the show. You come around the way I want it. Well, that's not going to win you any friends for sure. I spent a lot of time in Riyadh and Dubai. Most of my time was spent sucking up, if you want to call it that, building relationships. With Bader Boussaid is the big guy in town. He and I are like, he calls me his brother. I mean, we see everything eye to eye, but I understand his culture, he understands mine. And I think at the end of the day, for multicultural teams, the multicultural is the issue. And a lot of people don't want to invest. They think, no, my American culture is fine. Well, that's good, but you're going to fail. So I think that'd be where I'd hit right off. And you're seeing more and more books written that address this issue. I've seen several books recently that are culture issues. Several about the agriculture, but all of them are starting to write them and saying, look, if we're going to work with these folks in a really compatible way, we need to understand them. We need to understand just as little things as holidays. What are their holidays? The respect that you gain from knowing when their holidays are, you can't buy that. So I think that's where the issue is going to come into play.
Yeah, there is a great book called Kiss, Bow, or Shake Hands. It's got a few volumes. I recommend everyone to read it. It really helps you understand the different culture of 60 plus countries, how people behave in business, in projects, what the do's and the don'ts, etc. Probably, Daniel, you might want to raise one last question because
got another question that just came in. Give me 1 second to grab it. It is, let me read it. Can we read that?
This better be my last one. I've got to run, you guys. I'm sorry. I'm running.
Yeah.
Oh, no worries. It was just something. Just something about the team chart and use of AI.
There's something someone asked. This is a very good one, truly. What would you do differently if you go back in time in your 50 years in relation to PMI, PMP certification, project management? What would you do differently? To be honest,
you're not going to like this answer. I wouldn't do anything differently.
Okay.
I mean, how could I do anything better? I mean, for me personally, I'm where I want to be. I've been doing what I want to do, helping those I want to help. So,
that's awesome.
I'm sorry, I wouldn't do a thing differently.
Not many people can say that. It's just blew me off my chair by saying that.
I'm happy I can.
That's why we call you the legendary Lee Lambert.
Exactly, right?
Legendary,
Yep.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time so much. Please take care of yourself while traveling. Guys.
Let me know when we're at it again. This is fun. I love it.
Same here. Have a good one,
Thank you,
friend.
man.
Thank you, travels.
All right, he just left. All right, Daniel. So, guys, Lee had to leave because he's traveling. He's saying hello. So we might take just one or two more questions, you and I, Daniel. So, Suhail is asking, as someone preparing for the PMP exam and starting career in project management, what mindset or habits do you believe separate true effective project managers from those who simply follow the process? We've talked a lot about this. I think there is no better person to answer that, than Daniel. Suhail is asking, we don't want to follow the process. We want to stand out, as a project manager to be truly effective. What to do? I think you have the perfect answer because you keep talking about this, Daniel, all the time.
No, and it's even funny. I didn't want to jump the gun, but I was kind of thinking the same thing, right? Because for those who are on here that know me or see me on LinkedIn writing about this stuff, something that I write about and I believe wholeheartedly, and most folks, not all, but most people I talk to offline where it's just me and them, agree on some version of what I'm about to say, where, again, the process, the frameworks, all that stuff is great. We need to have that baseline of knowledge to at least be able to get going, right? And have the tools and the foresight to be able to deliver a project. But there's something else on the other side. And this is one of my biggest complaints. Lee touched to it. I know me and Ahmed have had some conversations about this. I know he does this in his training, where so many people, especially in the training themselves, talk about how to pass an exam, not how to be a project manager. Not everyone. I know certainly not Ahmed, but there's just so many that they're not truly preparing you for it. I know you need a few years of experience, but even like Lee mentioned, that first 2 or 3 years, you're kind of lost in the sauce. You don't know what you're doing. You're learning from others. You're just getting through the motions. If you have a big project team, you're one of a million, and you're not really. It doesn't, at least in my own experience and what I've seen, 5, 8, 10 years, where you really get your footing as a project manager, regardless of your title. So to me, kind of, putting aside the certification, the training, and having that baseline stuff, you have to understand people. You have to understand people. Lee mentioned it. Ahmed said it. If you do not understand how people work, how they think, like we were just talking about the cultures, every time I work with someone in a new country, I'm excited to hear about their culture, their religious holidays. I want them to send me stuff. I'm reading stuff. I want to make sure that they know that at the end of the day, I'm not just some person from some other, country in the world, sending them some, something to do. I always try to come down to a human level. Forget the titles, forget the project, even sometimes come down to a human level with someone, and lots of times one-on-one. And if you come down to their level and really try to get to the nitty-gritty of what's going on, let them know you trust them, prove that they could trust you. It goes, I can't even explain how far this goes. I can still call on people today. I managed projects with 15 years ago, and they would do anything I asked them. That's just the kind of relationships that I've built, and vice versa. And if you could build that trust, build those relationships, have those one-on-ones, build solid teams, be there for your team, and always make sure that you're protecting your team to the extent possible, of course, within the organization or your environment. And if you could do those things successfully, continuous learning. I cannot get enough learning. I have 1,000 project management books. I probably buy 5,000 more by the time I'm done. YouTube videos, classes, there's so much stuff to learn, especially with AI here. It's not going anywhere, guys. Learn as much as you can, as fast as you can about it, and learn how to use it in your own work and for your potentially future work. If you could kind of put yourself in that position today as someone who's just kind of getting into the field, studying for your PMP, you are putting yourself in a place beyond most people. And the last thing I'll put the nail in the coffin with this, find a mentor, someone else that either knows what they're talking about within the work, even if it's on LinkedIn, reach out to me, reach out to Ahmed. Find someone that could help guide you. Like Lee mentioned, it took him from 10 to 5 years on his learning. I guarantee you, not in every instance, but most of the time, the same thing will happen to you. If you could do all those things pretty successfully as fast as you can early in your career, you're setting yourself up for a career that's beyond your wildest dreams.
Exactly. Thank you. That was an amazing answer, Daniel. I even mentioned that earlier. I was on another podcast as a guest, and with that podcast, I spoke about the difference between the 10% of PMP trainers who really teach people how to manage projects, so they can easily, pass the exam, and the 90% who just prepare people for the exam. And once they get the exam, they cannot move on to the next level, which is securing a job or growing in their job or, succeeding in the project. Really, that was an amazing chat with the legendary Lee Lambert. I think really
forever, man. I could ask them 1,000 more questions just about the historical part of PMI.
It's history walking on earth.
Exactly. If I'm not mistaken, I think he said the rest had passed away, and if I heard him right, that he's the last original founder.
Yeah, I heard something like that. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yes, man. Well, we got one person left, guys. We got one person left.
I wanted to ask him, actually. I wanted to ask him if he ever met Rita Mulcahy.
Yeah.
Because for me, I really, if she was alive, I would definitely want to meet her. She was the greatest person from whom I learned project management. Really, she was amazing, but she passed away 12 years ago. So I really want to ask him that. Maybe I do it offline. So, guys, please stay with us on this series of podcasts. Next week, we're going to have a very, very interesting topic.
Yes.
With a very, very smart and famous guy. I think you guys, a lot of guys would want to be present next week. It's going to be a very interesting session about a topic many people want to know. So please, guys, we'll announce it very soon. Daniel, you've been great as usual, my colleague.
Thank you. Each week that goes by, Ahmed, this is one of maybe two things I actually look forward to every single week. And the more we have these, the more people we're talking to, the more conversation I hear outside. I'm just, it's filling my heart with project management. I love it. But thank you guys for following, for always supporting us. Follow, like, subscribe. We'll be putting out, we'll be putting out the event details for next week. This is going to be a little bit of a twist, but I guarantee you are going to love this, especially for those people out there that do what we do, love project management, are always talking about it, looking to expand their own knowledge, but also profess some knowledge out into the project management world. You are not going to want to miss this.
Yeah, exactly. See you guys next Thursday on a new podcast with my colleague Daniel and I. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure reading your comments. Please share the live, share the podcast, thumbs up, like it. put your comments. Thank you so much, guys. See you in a week time from now.
Have a good one,
Thank
guys.
you, Daniel. All right, Daniel. So I think